Hey, greetings, everybody. This is John Morgan with my friend and colleague and partner in ministry, Pastor Tim Hargrove. Hey, Tim, how you doing, brother? You're back from the Philippines. I'm glad you made it.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm back. Long journey. Great trip. Look forward to sharing some of the great things that are going on there.
Yeah, great. We're great. We're looking forward to hearing about it. And the first thing that I think everybody was excited about was to know that your luggage actually made it on this trip.
Yeah. Well, I guess the Lord was testing me on the first trip, right? Because that's where I went with no luggage. My second trip and third trip, I've been good. So, and I split my luggage now, so I always have clothes with me on the plane. But yeah, no problem since then.
Things you learn by traveling, how to protect yourself. But last time you never got in touch with your luggage again until you got home, and then it finally arrived back at your house, right?
Yeah, I went to the Philippines and my luggage came to my house. So it was a little bit of a mismatch.
Your luggage went around the world and came back home. So it's like a cat. The cat just keeps coming back. But
yeah, it gave for a great story. The Filipinos thought it was super funny when I came with no luggage. So
yeah. Well, cool. So let's have you debrief with us about this Philippine mission. We have a lot of people that are PPI partners. Some of them specifically are giving toward your support and for projects that you are in charge of. And then our general partners are part of it too, because you know how it works. I mean, it just all kind of works together. But why don't you give us the rundown and kind of walk us through kind of what you thought the key things that you experienced and did, and what you're seeing going on with the Philippines?
Yeah. So just a super quick history as I started working, connecting with OMS and the ECC group about 2.5 years ago. Began working with this team that I'm with now about 2 years ago. And so
let me have you tell what is OMS, what does it stand for, who are they, and then what does ECC stand for, what are they doing?
Yeah, OMS is One Mission Society, and they're doing some really good strategic work in many countries around the world, and one of those is the Philippines. And then through that connection and with Dr. Larry Freed, he invited me to join with him in this work in the Philippines. And that ECC means Every Community for Christ. That's a saturation church planting organization. And it's really full service. They come alongside all these different churches and denominations and say, how can we help? How can we help you be successful at fulfilling the Great Commission in the Philippines? How can we help train your leaders and all of it? And so they're doing an amazing job. And so connecting with them was a very strategic thing because they're already really good at training. And so a big part of what we're doing with PPI involves, it has a big educational and training component to it. And so this is my third trip to the Philippines in less than 11 months. And so I wouldn't go back that many times in such a short time if there really wasn't movement happening there that was, I feel, really strategic, both to their work that they're already doing, but also the work that we're doing at PPI there and other places as well.
Yeah, I feel really fortunate that we are connected with such a great group there in the Philippines, and I thank you for your good work of making that connection and building those relationships with them and just working out that partnership. So, all right, well, tell us about this trip. What happened? Tell us about it.
Yeah, so this time when I got there, one of our couples that had been through a lot of our training is Kanoy and Wilma Gonzalez. And they met me at the airport. God bless them. They had to wait for me about 3 hours because you don't ever get there on time. And so took me to their home. And the reason I wanted to connect with them is they're working with us in sustainability and this economic development. They do ministry and business. So they're really good strategic, partners in country. They're connected with ECC and beyond. And they're a big part of a work called Golden Creek Outreach. So we talked about that a little bit before. It's a slum area in Manila. And they've came in and said, hey, how can we create value in this urban slum community? They went in and created a children's program, now a youth program. Then they're also working with parents. They call it livelihood, which is they're teaching some really basic business development skills. What are some things they can do right now to begin earning some money, and really just establishing a presence. And so I had been seeing it. We've been a part of helping it move forward, and I got to see it in person. So that was a really great way to start my trip. And they toured me of that work there. I got to walk through one of the village areas where they're working, meet the kids, meet some of the parents. And wow, John, that's an amazing start. And it's a really a prototype for a way to begin doing some church planting work and some economic development work at the same time in a really high poverty, and I would even say an extreme poverty, situation. And so since we're involved in the poverty space, it's awesome to be a part of it. And they're doing the whole package, right? Working with families, with kids, good economic, leading toward establishing a church. And I'm excited to see how it plays out. So I've never been a part of something like that before on an ongoing basis. And so that's a result of, one of the great unexpected outcomes of the work that we do.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about seeing them taking it specifically to a slum and saying, look, these principles work at every level. They work for people who are wealthy to get even more wealthy, but they help the poor. They help the genuinely poor, even those living in slums. It helps them start making their pathway upward out of poverty. So I'm very excited about the work that they're doing there. So yeah, great stuff.
Yeah, and so great people, great leaders there that are doing that work. So we progressed there, John, to me getting more insight about how some things are developing within the sustainability work that we're doing with Every Community for Christ. And so they have a concern that their ministry really grows and expands and is not economically limited. So their opportunity to impact people in the Philippines is very, very high. And also, John, they already are working as well. In the last year, they've done work in Hong Kong. They've done work in Japan. They've done work in Vietnam. They've done work in Thailand. So they already have some presence across some really key areas in Asia. And we're getting to work with them now at a really good stage of their development. And so they want their ministry to grow and expand in the Philippines, but also beyond. And so for the first time ever, one of the things that happened was they began to connect with Christian business leaders in the Philippines around this kingdom, work development. And they've had some really good success. So they met with some partners, Malaluan and Abby Gazolte are two of our key leaders. Super smart, John. And man, let me tell you, God's raised up some amazing leaders in the Philippines. And they've taken the material, the things they've already learned, added to it the things that we're teaching. And they approached a business group about funding some kingdom work. And the business group was quite impressed with them and with the strategy behind their work. And they were successful and they got some funding. So again, it's exciting to me because that's the first time that they've ever had any significant funding from a group like that. for this church planting work in the Philippines. And they got 22 projects that are underway now being funded from this foundation in Manila. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and there's two things that come out from that to me. One is one of the things that we experience really when you get out around the world in the developing world is that women, talented women, just seem to have more freedom to step up and do ministry leadership. And it's just like, if you're willing and you can do it, then do it. And Abby and Let are two of those top leaders that you rely on. They're smart, they're aggressive, they're hardworking, and they're doing great things. And the other thing is that through PPI teaching, it's like it opens the eyes of these Christian people that everything ultimately gets funded by business. And that's true of us in our ministry. It was true of us when we were in church ministry, that those who own businesses were large supporters of the ministry, but even those who were tithing off a wage, most of them were working for businesses, and the ones that were working for government, the fact is the government gets funded by those businesses too.
Right.
So we call it chasing the money. If you chase it far enough, it's always going to go back to where it was originated, with a business. So, and business done properly is righteous, and it's the righteous engine of wealth. Well, that's an eye opener for these Christians around the world, because they buy into this global bias that all business people are liars and cheaters and thieves, and that business is dirty, rotten business, is a dirty, rotten activity, when in fact the Bible affirms that done properly, business is one of the most righteous things you can do. So that's opened their mind to really look at businesses in their culture and say, how can we partner with them, and how can we create our own businesses and just be a pro-business ministry? Is that how you would say it?
Oh, absolutely. And not only that, but many of the key leaders I'm working with, they're starting their own small businesses as well. Let and Abby both have a small business that they operate in their neighborhood. So they love pets, John. And so they said, hey, it's really hard for us to get pet food where we live. Gee, I wonder if we could have a pet food supply business in our neighborhood. And sure enough, they have one. And so it's really funny to me, and they love it. The neighbors love it.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant, because people are crazy about their pets, and they spend too much stupid money on them, anyway. But even in that environment, it's a great consumer product that I would like for you to have them take a picture of either making it, or how they package it, or how they sell it, or some dog or cat or whatever it is eating it. Have them send us a couple of pictures. I'd love to post that.
Yeah, I need to do that. They'd get a big laugh out of it. And so they were so excited to tell me, because that's happened since I was there last time. And but here they are, they're doing great work. They have to fund their life too, right? Their life and their ministry both. And they have funding for a lot of their ministry, but they all still need to have funding for their lives. And also, one of the things that's happened, John, is it's created all this network of relationships in their neighborhood. So they told me, they said, Pastor Tim, we've gotten to meet neighbors. We've been living here for a few years, and we never met these people. And now we've met all of them, right?
That's great.
So they know each other's names. They're interacting. So on a practical level, I just come back to the fact that, one, their awareness was created. Hey, we have great business people in the Philippines. How can we meet some of them and leverage that for kingdom work? And the other is, what's a real practical need in our community that we live in? And how can we just kind of grow that? And that's exciting.
It's a great example. We say, start out simple, start out small, just make create one more inch of value than you're doing right now. And what they're doing probably it's not expensive on equipment. You don't have to buy a bunch of material. It's just buy what you can now, make it, go sell it, so good. So many big businesses started out very simple like that. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's exciting to hear.
that's exciting. And that's happening really across with many other people, that I could talk about. But the idea of it, you get it, is people awareness has been created and doors are opening for them. The third big area, John, which is really the most strategic, and it was the primary reason I went back again so soon, was to sit down with a team of people that are really working to create and design an IAL curriculum for Create, Own, Grow. IAL means interactive adult learning. And so whether we're doing work in Africa or in the Philippines or anywhere else, this is a model of education that's very effective. And so we happen to have an expert, Abby is an expert in IL design. And she was willing to commit that time and expertise and to train and assemble a team. And so I went and spent 4 days in Manila with this team, and they're working and writing and designing something that we've never had before in our work. And so there's some really big strategic value to a curriculum development project. And I'm excited, and I know you are too.
Yeah, I am, because the IAL is really designed where people can learn in groups over multiple times that they get together. And it is not dependent upon a master teacher like you or I, or some really deeply trained PPI leader. It just requires a facilitator, somebody who knows how to get a group together and do what the instructions say that you're supposed to do, and have a general knowledge about what's going on. And it's almost like the group teaches itself through the process. And what that means is that it can multiply rapidly through a people group or a culture. It doesn't bottleneck at just who you and I can teach,
Right.
or other people that we train deeply. It doesn't bottleneck there. It just opens up the gates for this to go both in the Philippines, but globally. So yeah, man, I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, so that we got a great first start on that. And it was fun. It was fun for me to work with those people for the 4 days. It's a big project, and I would really ask our partners, hey, would you pray for us on this project? We're talking, several months of work and multiple stages. I'm looking in front of me of about 16 stages until it gets to, the final product. And so it's a real design project. And Abby's really highly capable, a professional developer at this level. And so with that, and then the commitment of the ECC team, man, we're just praying this becomes a reality, hopefully by next spring. And they'll actually start training and testing this summer with module 1. And so it progresses through 4 modules, and a big plan laying out from there. But one of the things that happened, John, was in the beginning of that project, Abby stood in front of the group and she said, we want to help create an economic empowerment movement, not just among ECC, but also across the Philippines. And she asked, how many people is PPI hoping to train? I said, well, our vision is to train 1 million people by 2030. And she said, that's what we want to be a part of that. And so the vision is there. The capability is there. And our role is important because we're really feeding them content and training that they've never had before. And but they're taking it and running with it. And I'm expecting great things to happen.
Yeah, and I'm expecting that what they produce may not require any adaptation for places like Africa or other places in Asia or Latin America, other than just translation. But if it does need some adaptation, cultural adaptation, it won't be, it's not as far of a distance as it is coming from us, from Western
Right.
culture, trying to accommodate it culturally. So I think what they're doing is, I think it'll be seamless in Asia. I think it'll be almost seamless in Africa and Latin America, but man, it's gonna just, oh, it's huge. It's strategic. And so let me talk a little bit more specifically about this project, because we need to raise some support to get this project knocked out. We talk about 4 modules. So what they've done is they've taken our PPI training manual. That's a 50-page color illustrated training manual, and they are having it printed in the Philippines, both in English and in the most common language there, which is Filipino Tagalog. And they've asked us for some financial help to get that printed there. And so we needed to raise $2,500 for that, and $2,500 has been given for that. And we're in the process of putting that to work and getting that done. So then what they do is they take that training manual and they're breaking that down into 4 modules of 6 lessons each. So they'll build it 1 module at a time. They'll test it, edit it, and then just keep rolling. And then they have a 5th thing they need to do, which is to develop a facilitator training for anybody that wants to be a facilitator. They get trained probably 1 day on it, and then they're ready to go, and they know how to run this thing, and they've got those materials in their hands. So what we're looking at is $1,000 per module, also including the facilitators training as one of those. So 4 modules plus facilitated training, that's $1,000 for each one, for a total of $5,000. So we are asking our partners if they would consider helping us fund this project. You can give any amount to it. You can give $5 to it, or you can fund the whole enchilada if you want. But I would rather a lot of people give, whatever is a good amount for you. So a lot of people have their hands in this project, but we also want to get it done. We want to get it done. We want to get the money in their hands and really get them fully funded to make this thing happen. So yeah, just want to encourage people, if you want to give, just designate it on your giving that it's for the, what we're going to call it. We're going to call it the Filipino IAL project, or something like that. We'll know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's tied in. It's create on grow curriculum development. That's kind of how we've labeled it.
okay.
And because again, the book's doing well. We've already done quite a bit of training, but now then it's just now getting ready to go to a very large scale.
Yeah.
And so the scale of it, John, it's going to change dramatically over the next year because of this work. And I'm really excited too, John, because they're really contextualizing the things that we've created. They're contextualizing it really well for their setting, for their audience, and their cultural, dynamics. So
and in every culture that we go into, it has to get out of the Western brain, and it's got to get into the Asian brain or the African brain, and then they put it in their language, and they give their illustrations behind it.
Right.
And how they solve the problems they're facing. The principles are the same, and they get that too. The principles are the principles. They work everywhere, but you have to contextualize it. So great stuff on that. Let me be a little bit more specific on this project, how to give. If you want to give to this PPI course development, okay, if you want to give to that, this $5,000 project, which is centered in the Philippines, because that's where the talent is. It's working on it right now, but this is going to go worldwide. Okay. You go to our website, which is peopleprosper.org. When you go to peopleprosper.org, on any page, there'll always be a donate button. Just hit that donate button, and then it'll ask you if you want to make any notes about your gift, and you just say what it's for, and we will apply it to that. So Tim, my feeling about it is about this latest missions to the Philippines is really good. It's with a great group of people. They're very excited about it. They're very excited about where this is going in their lives. They all are living on the edge economically.
Right.
They're hungry. They're hungry materially. They're hungry intellectually. They're hungry spiritually. They want all of what God has for them. And they know that this is part of it. So they're hungry, they're motivated, they're smart, they're engaged. They want to do a movement across the Philippines. They want to be part of our global movement. And man, I just think God's timing, man, right? I mean, God,
Yeah.
it's amazing how much of what happens, you look back on it, you go, we could not have done that. That was God putting that together, and making these connections and the timing and all of that. So
Yeah.
I just feel like this was another God ordered and God timed deal, that your latest mission.
Well, I do too. And I do too. And so I'm so thankful, John, that we get to be a part. One of the things that Dr. Larry Freed said to me was the same thing that you just said. He said, I'm amazed, because he's been working there about 10 years. He said, I'm amazed that God always gives us the people we need when we're ready.
Yeah.
When we're ready.
Yeah.
And just made me almost cry, when he said it, because when we really set on this path, you and I, there's a lot of unknowns, and we're just waiting for God to open doors.
I know.
And so now, it's with humility and a lot of gratitude that I say, thank you to the Lord. Thank you to the Freeds and also to the ECC team, because they've just welcomed us in and embraced us as their own. And, they're the driving force, behind it when we're playing a strategic role. But without them, it wouldn't go further than us.
Yeah.
So,
No,
so praise God for that.
Yeah, we appreciate them very much, and glad that God put us together. Well, let's see, Tim. Any final word before we get ready to wrap this thing up?
Yeah, if you go to the Philippines, make sure you eat at every Asian restaurant you can while you're there, because it's all good. I did not go hungry, John, while I was there, I assure you. And although I ate a little bit too much rice than I probably needed to eat, but man, what a beautiful people, and so hospitable. And it makes me want to take more people with us on some of our trips right there. And of course, Kenya is the same, so hospitable. So maybe our partners will be able to join us one day on some of these projects. That'd be fun.
Yeah, no, you always go thinking you're going to be a blessing, and then you come back not sure who was the bigger blessing to whom. It was a good thing, and the food and the culture. It's always a great experience. I love rice. I love all the Asian stuff. Most of it. They have this duck. They have this raw duck in an egg.
Yeah.
Is it called balut or something like that?
Yeah,
they always try to. They get great fun of trying to get Americans to eat it, and it's just totally.
Oh yeah.
It's totally gross. And but other than that, everything else that I saw in the Philippines, and I love rice and all those sauces that go into everything. So you're making me hungry, actually. Talking about that, but no, it's a great
just a reminder, we're dealing with real people here, right? Real families, real pastors, real community people. I was able to sit down with one of the pastors there of a church I spoke in on Mother's Day. John, amazing Christian leader. His family, beautiful family. Praise God, right? That he's raising up people like that.
Yeah.
That are serving him around the world. And so that's what you and I are, a big group that we're helping are those people.
Yeah.
They're already there. They're already serving. They're already faithful. But we bring them something that they don't have yet.
So when we're teaching them these economic principles, the first one is the principle of grow, and it's create. And the way we say it is to create the best value that you can, which could sound kind of big and complicated, but really the first step is to just look at what you have, look at your talents, but also look at the problems around you, look at the opportunities around you, and look for how can you just create one more inch of value more than you are now that might be able to increase some income in your way. So when you talk about Pastor Kanoy and his wife, they went into a slum to create a ministry because they already know how to do that. So they're creating one more inch of ministry value with different groups. And they're also doing economic teaching. So they have that's one more inch. And then they are doing some economic projects like raising chickens and selling eggs and raising some produce. And they even have a vision for more things they can do in that slum. But these are not that complicated. It's creating one more inch of value with Let and Abby. They started this pet food business, I'm sure from scratch, with just the ideas in their heads and just a little bit of investment in it. And great concept. It's going to be fun to see where that goes and where their other projects go. But I want to say to everybody listening to us, the same principle goes in your life too, is the way you create the best value that you can is as you just look at what do you have in your hands. It's kind of like what God said to Moses when he called him, what's in your hand? And he had this rod, and it was kind of a symbol of his life and his work, and God was just like, just give it to me, man. Let's put this thing to work. So our challenge to you would be, look at what you've got. What are your talents? What are your interests? What are the opportunities you see, which usually are in the form of a problem? What's a problem that needs to be solved that you could step in? It may not be that complicated. It may not seem that special to you, but you can add one more inch of value there and can get some income off of that. And I would challenge you that, man, do it. And then just keep living with that mindset, and small things in time grow into great things. And we see that happen all around the world. We see that happen in the US, and we see it happen all around the world. That's how it happens.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's really fun to see and to be a part of. And so thank you to our partners, because we can't do it without you. And we need your prayer, and your giving makes all the difference. Every project that I'm a part of is only happening because of our partners.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I also want to say that too. Thank you to all of our prayer partners. Prayer changes things. It changes the world. It changes our lives. And thank you to all of our financial partners who really, it truly is a partnership. We're the ones that do a lot of the thinking work, and we're the ones that get out there and make the trip and work with these partners and train leaders and all that kind of stuff. But man, we can't do it without you. It is you right there with us because you funded it and made it possible. So thank you to all of our financial partners. And if you want to get in on this strategic course development project, we'd love to have you in on that too, because we're excited to get that done. So yeah, let me close it by telling everybody, God bless you. Thanks for being with us. And let me dismiss you or close out our session, this podcast, with this blessing. And that is this: go forth and conquer. You going to go forth and conquer, Tim?
I'm going to try.
Attaboy. Me too. All right. God bless. See everybody.
God bless.